Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. On this channel, we spend our time looking at fantasy of all sorts, from books to movies to video games, and applying the characters within into the tabletop game Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition. Today we're going to be looking at an interesting book, Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. Inside it, there are 3 new races you can play. Kind of. They're heritages. The idea is that you could have been a race before this, and then due to a curse of some kind, you ended up becoming a new race. This race could also be used at character creation. So I'm treating this as a baseline race. The first one we're looking at is the Dhampir. The Dhampir is a vampire, except they're not a vampire, they're a Dhampir. They're a player character vampire. The idea is that a vampire tried to transform you into like a vampire spawn, but instead you became a Dhampir and kept your free will. Dhampirs can be medium or small, depending on what size you were beforehand. They have a speed of 35 feet. They have ancestral legacy. This means that if they had any skill buffs or movement buffs from their former race, they get to keep them. But for our purposes, we're just talking about building it as a baseline Dhampir. You get 2 skill proficiencies of your choice, which is great. You get dark vision out to 60 feet. You get the spider climb ability, where you get a climbing speed equal to your walking speed, and you can walk on walls and ceilings without grabbing them. So you can just walk on any surface pretty much. That's fantastic. You also don't need to breathe. That's the deathless nature power, so breathing underwater in a vacuum is not an issue for you. And you have a vampiric bite. You can do it a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and heal yourself with it. This gives you a bonus to your attack or your skill checks. You regain hit points, and you have advantage on the attack when you're under half health. The attack is a 1d4 plus your constitution modifier, which is an interesting one. It doesn't use strength or dex. All in all, this package is great, and I give it a 10 out of 10 solidly. Extra speed, dark vision, no need to breathe, climbing on walls, extra skills, it's all fantastic. Then comes the Hex Blood. The Hex Blood is the idea that a hag or the fae or some creature like tricked you, and you either lost your humanity or you were granted the powers of the Hex Blood because you were created by them. The idea that you could have been made as a replacement for someone that the Fae kidnapped or that the hags kidnapped. It's an interesting backstory. Once again, you can be medium or small based on what you were beforehand, or if you're just creating it at a baseline, whatever you want. Your speed is 30 feet. You still have the ancestral legacy power, so 2 skills of your choice, or the skills and movement speed from your former race. Dark vision out to 60 feet, just like before, that's great. Then there's the eerie token power. You can give a small piece of your body, a lock of your hair, a tooth, a fingernail, something like that, hand it to someone, and they gain telepathy. 10 miles of telepathy, which is phenomenal. And you can use this as an action to look out from the body part remotely for both sight and hearing for 1 minute, at which point the body part disappears. It also disappears when you take a long rest, so you can only have one out at a time. But that's really cool. The telepathy is pretty good just by itself, but that single-use remote sight is also really good. It's like having an arcane eye somewhere else, but it's a racial feature. And then finally, you get some extra spells, Disguise Self and Hex. Both phenomenal spells, and you can cast them once per rest for free, and they get added to your spell list, so you can cast them as a spellcaster as well. Again, the Hexblood is a 10 out of 10 race, with all these powers, the dark vision, the legacy, the hex magic, it's all good stuff. Then there's the Reborn, the final one. The Reborn is like a zombie. They died and they were brought back to life, but they weren't brought back to life by like a revivify or reincarnate spell or by necromancy. It's something else. And the spirit that's in them kind of remembers their past life, but kind of doesn't. This is a great one for an amnesia-based story. Medium or small, again, your choice. 30-foot movement speed and the ancestral legacy feature, just like before. Weirdly, these guys don't get dark vision. Not sure why. But they do have the deathless nature, and this one is a doozy. First of all, they don't need to eat, drink, breathe, or sleep. So that's nice. You don't have to do any of that stuff. To take a long rest, you just have to remain motionless for 4 hours. That beats out the Elven Trance and the Warforged Sentry's Rest. That's fantastic. 4 hours for a long rest. They have an advantage on all death saving throws. Wow. And they have resistance to poison damage and advantage against the poison condition. All of this in one feature, Deathless Nature. So, quite a feature. You could have split that into 3 features, and instead it's just one stacked one. Then there's knowledge from a past life. A couple of times per rest, equal to your proficiency bonus, you can add a d6 to a skill check. It's kind of like having super guidance, except you do it to yourself a couple times per day. It's really nice, actually. Having a d6 to add to a skill check, that can really make or break, sleight of hand checks, stealth checks, persuasion checks, athletics checks if you're grappling. Like, there's a lot you can do with an extra d6. In fact, it's more like bardic inspiration that you just give to yourself, actually. It's really, really good. And I say they're the Reborn, even though they don't quite stack up to the other two. I still say they're 10 out of 10. Their resistances and their immunities and their no needing to eat, drink, or sleep or breathe is really good stuff. And yeah, I say the Reborn is also 10 out of 10. In fact, all of these races are 10 out of 10. None of them have natural languages. It's just said in the book you're supposed to use the languages from your past life, or if you don't have a past life, pick 2, common and something else. And they don't have inherent stat boosts. So a lot of the newer books have been doing away with that, saying have a +2 and a +1 of your choice. And that's fine. Build the character you want to play, because these guys don't fit into a specific shoehorn. They can kind of work with whatever you want them to do, and all of their powers are going to be handy for basically anyone. Like, all of these are good. Van Richten's monster legacies, or races, whatever you want to call them, are fantastic, and I highly recommend anyone give them a try for any character. They're great. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below, and keep your eyes peeled for more race reviews coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friends.